What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Link Live. Little change of pace for today. As you can see, we're off-site, out of the studio, out of the office. We're here at Gino and Marty's for none other than Gino Bartucci. If you're interested in anything hospitality related, restaurant, nightlife, if you're just getting started in business, you want to build a foundation, you're going to want to tune into this episode. Ton of nuggets dropped throughout. The foundation for how Gino and Marty's was built, Gino's expansion into Dubai now and in the Middle East, going into Saudi Arabia. And then we're opening up a new concept Gino will tell us about down the street soon this spring. So there's a lot of first time news you're going to get in this episode. Super excited. Thank you so much to Gino again for doing it, but we'll see you in the episode. So we're welcomed today by the one and only Gino Bartucci. Gino and Marty's and more. That's right. Appreciate you doing this with me, Gino.
Of course.
Thanks for having us at the restaurant today. As you guys can see, I'll talk to camera for a second. Not in the Link studio, so we're taking Link live on the go, but only for a few special individuals. So we're at the beautiful Gino Marty's right now, offsite at the restaurant. Gino was nice enough to let us do the pod here. So super excited, going to get into this one. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I have to say, I love what you're doing, man. I've been messing around with you for a couple of years now, from DJing to events you're hosting, now seeing the podcast flourish and see more of the aggressive entrepreneurial business side of you. Happy to be part of it. So thank you.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like always, let's just hop into, I want to really peel you back today. I want to provide as much value as possible. For the people that may not know, talk to them about younger Gino, upbringing, how you were raised, more so where you come from.
Yeah, for sure. Grew up on Harlem Avenue, just off of Harlem and Addison, little outskirts of Chicago. Grew up in an Italian deli and a pasta shop. Hated working there as a kid. My family was really into learning by experience and seeing what our parents had to go through and learning things from the previous generation, and I hated it as a kid, but in my mature years, I really appreciate that. As a kid, I was definitely a troublemaker. I would push the envelope constantly. There was no black and white for me. Still is no black and white for me. Everything is a gray area. I literally live in, I don't know if I should say 50 shades of gray, but I don't want to give everyone the wrong idea, but my life is definitely many shades of gray. And as a kid, I would really push that envelope. Teachers, in the younger years, I would excel thoroughly in school. Towards high school, I realized that was just part of the game that everybody played. As an entrepreneurial minded kid from the get-go, I always got into trouble. There was very few things to occupy my brain power, my time, my ambition. So you make a lot of mistakes. You go through a lot of the motions. You figure out what's right and what's wrong by trial and error. And I think that's most important for any businessman to go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
You mentioned you kind of knew early on that you had this sort of knack for maybe being an entrepreneur or business owner. What were some of the early things in your life that maybe inspired you towards that or towards that feeling?
Yeah, I guess I could admit it now because 10 years past a double jeopardy charge, I guess, for anything illegal. But when I was a kid, especially on Harlem by my dad's store, there'd be guys that pull up in white vans that would get stuff off the back of the truck, the neighborhood guys. So back then it was mini disc players just came out. Sony Dreamcast just came out. PS1 just came out. 64, and Nintendo 64. Most notably, I got a shipment of 200 pairs of Nike Air Max gym shoes, brand new from, either a Foot Locker or Finish Line UPC on it with the stickers. And I saw the truck filled with them, and I told my dad, I was like, yo, spot me the money. My dad's like, what are you going to do with all these shoes? I'm like, I'm going to inventory them. I'm going to go to school. I cut a picture of those shoes out of an East Bay shoe catalog, stuck them into a little loose leaf piece of paper that I had a couple other things that I was selling from previous weeks. Those guys pulled up to the store, and I went to school. Sure enough, a month later, I got 300 kids in my class, all wearing bright blue Nike Air Max. And, that was just something. I always found a niche. I always found a way to maneuver. I always found my angle to make a buck or to affect somebody or something, and kind of never stopped since.
What age was that?
12, 13, 14, that kind of started.
Yeah.
The Nike Air Max heist was around 14. Around that same time, I asked my parents to spot me some money for some DJ equipment.
Nice.
I cornered the market for kids' birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, communions, 8th grade graduation parties, eventually school dances.
Nice.
I had 2 or 3 of my friends that started being my mobile DJs under me. I had 2 sets of equipment. I would just kind of start coordinating and sending these kids to different parties and picking them up and dropping them off, and had a little nice little entertainment business going. Was able to make money within 2 summers of paying my parents back. And you're talking about, $5,000-$6,000 of equipment at that time. And none of it was as mobile as the DJ equipment you might use.
Right.
I mean, these are huge boxes. These are 15-inch subs. You're moving around coffins. And it was a lot of work, but it was cool. And I realized between food and restaurants and starting this mobile DJ thing and working deals out with kids in the locker, out of my locker and in the bathrooms at school, that I'm in the business of the human experience.
Right.
And whether that's serving food or serving drinks or just being a character on the floor that people want to come into the restaurant and know and meet. This is what I do. It's a human connection. It's a sociability. It's a lesson of a social psychology that I've been practicing since I was a little kid without realizing it.
Yeah.
So now I'm able to, make some moves that are kind of above and beyond here and there. Some people might be afraid to do. I've already learned the lessons. I've already failed at many things. So at this rate, I have no fear, man.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And it's apparent to me from knowing you, watching what you've been doing, you've become comfortable taking that risk where others may shy away from that. And I think that's super important. You mentioned earlier on to family business. I know you got your start hustling, working with your family and such, but you said you kind of hated it at first. Talk us through, we could skip through some time here. Talk us through that inflection point of when you maybe realized, actually, no, this is sort of maybe what I'm meant to be doing. I'm going to take this serious and kind of take a stab at that.
I think I realized that this is what I was meant to be doing a lot later than I would have preferred to realize that. I think when I started working at the Dana Hotel, it was one of my first big corporate jobs where I really had to step it up. And I was one of the youngest food and beverage directors in the city. There were several outlets of the hotel, multi-millions of dollars of revenue flowing through there, over 100 employees that I had to look after. And as I'm, just starting to brush shoulders with VIPs and guys, what I thought was spending money, now guys are coming in with 10x that. VIPs and celebrities that I didn't think that I'd be having coffee with or meeting or hanging out with or having a drink with. And then all these other people around me that are investing into these flash in the pan kind of gimmicks and concepts that would come and go. And I realized, man, holy shit, maybe I got to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
There's nobody going back to the basics and doing things like in a genuine old school way. Everyone's looking for the next shiny mirror instead of doing it the hard way and actually building a foundation and doing something. And part of what's made us successful over here is that, I'm hustling, I'm sweating, I'm serving the plates.
Right.
And people see that and they want to support, they want to support a man of the people,
100%. I know you've mentioned to me too, you got a lot of your start within nightlife, like many hospitality owners and entrepreneurs. How did some of those times shape what you're doing now?
I think in nightlife, I started to understand the social psychology of what egos play in money being spent.
Yeah.
There used to be a saying where it's like, market after the women and then the men come in to spend the money. Now I'm seeing in my restaurant that women come in and spend their own money. So understanding what every role plays of what the experience someone spending money is looking to achieve is something really unique. And I think I do that better than most.
Right. Yeah, you're doing it all here. The entertainment aspect of what you've been able to put on in the last, 2-3 years at Gino's on Randolph has been a spectacle to see on socials for
Yeah,
sure.
thank you. It's been a spectacle to fucking live through.
It's probably
man.
been surprising for yourself, which we'll get into as well. But no, it's awesome. What played a part when you could fast forward now, maybe 2020, Gino and Marty's came around on the scene, 2022?
Yeah, just after COVID. I knew once COVID finished, we had to make a move.
How did COVID affect sort of your guys' outlook and thought process?
Well, COVID really affected me at the beginning because, I wasn't at the hotel anymore. I was fully invested in my first restaurant, Bartucci. I don't have any funding partners at Bartucci. Right. I don't have any big investors to rely on. There's no cap table to go back and, raise money and do a call from investors to throw in some more money into a pot. And one day, as we're building, all the money I made, I was putting back into it because it's working. Sales were increasing. The year COVID shut us down, we were almost 48% increase from the previous year. And it took 7 years to get there. And finally we're cooking, man. And then all of a sudden, COVID shuts us down day of. I literally woke up in the morning and I found out I can't open my restaurant. And that means I can't eat. That means I still owe these bills. I'm building, I'm putting all the money I make back into something. Prior to doing that, I painted some walls, did some improvements, bought some new equipment, and I could have found out about that last week, 2 weeks ago, right? So, being a hustler, being someone that refuses to lose, I started crowdfunding, keeping my staff employed. I was crowdfunding $5. Every $5 that was donated would keep my staff employed, and we would be able to make, purchase, and distribute a free lunch or a free meal somewhere in Chicago. So within the next about 18 months, I donated over 25,000 meals to homeless shelters, battered women's homes, Ronald McDonald House, Chicago Food Bank, and so many different charities, and even just going into the street and affecting people. And that gave me a lot of support from the community. That let me retain a lot of my staff. That let me keep the wheels moving. At least I wasn't making money, but the car wasn't stopped dead in its tracks. And because of that, it made the business, the brand significant. And as soon as we opened, everyone wanted to come and support. That also gave me attention from who would be future investors and future business partners that would be interested in starting Gino and Marty's. And one of my favorite quotes from it's a Rockefeller quote. It's to be fearful when people are greedy, but be greedy when people are fearful. The time to buy is when blood is in the streets, baby.
Yeah.
And right after COVID, that's when people were fearful. And, how I started this conversation is, I failed enough times. I've gotten beat up and thrown down the stairs and fucking, left for dead in the business world so many times that I ain't afraid of shit, man.
Yeah.
So, that was the time to make a move. And that aggressive mood has now opened up to 5 openings this year in 2025, international expansion, international chef, celebrity chef, got businesses in Dubai, hopefully Saudi Arabia soon, 3 or 4 in Chicago, maybe Detroit that I'll just stop talking about right there, and plenty of other things. But it all got back to believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Betting it all on black. If you expect someone else to invest money in you, you better be able to put every dollar your name into that same belief and investment, because those people worked hard for their money also.
Yeah.
And you just have to have a blind confidence, man. You don't know how far you can go until you go too far.
Right. You segued into my next point, because I was going to mention, through the trials and tribulations of COVID and your experience with Bartucci's, all the battle scars you racked up, how did that provide you clarity when assembling your team for this establishment, for Gino and Marty's?
You see what everyone thinks they are indispensable.
Yeah.
Right. From every level of staff, everyone thinks that they're bringing something to the table that no one else can bring to the table. And everyone, it's good to go through the hardships and put shit tests on people to see what people are made of. During COVID, there was people that stuck around and there was people that didn't. I just got tired of feeding people that wouldn't starve with me. Right.
Yeah.
And I would rather know who those people are. I invest in everybody. I believe in everybody. I don't necessarily trust you, but I'm just waiting for you to show your true colors.
Right.
Maybe those true colors are fantastic. And if they are, I'll continue to invest in you and your growth and whatever that might be. But more times than not, people won't surprise you and remind you who they are. So take it for what it's worth.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's very wise. I think for me at least, and this is when I started to get more involved in the scene in Chicago and such, but when you guys launched and especially with how beautiful of a location you guys have here, you guys were hot on the scene, took off very quickly. What do you credit some of that early success to?
Definitely my core group of partners. You know, we all have our own different background, whether it's restaurants, nightlife, marketing. Everyone, the first couple weeks, you know, we weren't ready to open. We had a construction barricade outside, and my partner Martin and myself at that time, we were like, okay, Lollapalooza's coming up. We might not be ready, but, you know, I have a ton of music and artist connections. Martin did as well. Our partner David does as well. Our other partner at the time, Tyler, did as well. And we're like, you know, should we rush this opening? And it was actually turned kind of cool because we still had the barricade and no one knew like where they were walking into. It was like super mysterious. And right when you walked into that barricade, then you see this beautiful restaurant that's ready to go. And I think forcing ourselves to have kind of a week of hell and going through those motions was really, really important because none of us really expected it. Like I would never wanted to open a restaurant that was like, yeah, this can be like celebrity driven. I never considered myself like a celebrity chef or anything like that. You know, like I'm making gnocchi, bro, you know, like what's the big deal? But it kind of became a perfect storm because it was a very hush hush kind of Manhattan feeling going in someplace that, you know, is mysterious. And then when you walk into the place and, you know, we have a room filled with, you know, Corday and Sam Ronson and, you know, Green Day and Swedish House Mafia. And even for us, it was kind of surreal that I didn't expect. And every one of the partners brought someone different to the table at a different time. And then that just kept building. And then they started coming in naturally. In the restaurant business, your best marketing is with your tables that are in-house now. The best marketing is answering the phone. The best marketing that making sure everyone wants to leave. Everyone that is leaving wants to come back. Right. So if you could get everybody to come back, that's the secret in restaurants. So we created an environment where there weren't cell phones. People weren't fanning. You know, we shut the drapes, make exceptions, making things off the menu, opening the kitchen at wild times in the night to cook for people and to accommodate people, most things that bigger restaurant groups wouldn't do. Then it created a natural environment that these celebrities want to come back to. They feel at home. In every one of my tables, I always have a sign that says, you know, when you come in for dinner, you have come in for dinner, it says, welcome home, Lorenzo. Not welcome in, not good to see you. You're fucking home, baby. Welcome home, you know? And I create that home experience for all of my guests.
100%. A couple of the key things that come to mind when you start talking about that, for me, at least in my experiences here, two things: exclusivity and personalization. It's all about the small details. We're in one of the most competitive markets and cities in the country, right? There's a million options for people to go and eat in Chicago, one of the best food cities in the country and the world, right? So what are the little details? What are the little things that Gino's able to do to make people feel personal, make people feel special? Because I think that's one of the biggest things that's been lost, especially within Chicago-based hospitality over the past year or two. But one of the other things that I wanted to highlight, a couple things, but what is your distinction? Because there was a very fine line. You guys brought in a lot of outside investment, but you definitely had your strategic core partners. What are some of those attributes? I know you kind of touched on a little bit. What are some of those attributes you guys were looking for in those strategic guys versus the guys that maybe just had capital to invest?
Yeah, there's some guys where you just need capital and you got to take it for what it is. I'm opening up a new business where I wasn't taking, I actually turned down more investors than I accepted because I was looking for specific strategic investors, not just strategic investors based on background, what they could add to the table, That is very, very important. But also, what are people's mentalities like? There might be that guy with money, but he might be like a stickler. He might be a very anxious driven person. That person could plant a seed in a negative mentality that would spread to other investors. If I made a mistake, is this guy going to think I tried to screw him legally, or like I made a mistake and I apologize and he's going to support me and help me work past it? Or the business might not be making as much as we expected. But maybe that person's going to say, I see you doing the work. Let's improve it. Not you're at fault. Right. So you got to watch out for those personality types. It's not just taking money. That person that's going to say you're at fault without taking time to be in the business, understand the business, see if there's factors above and beyond that could be the explanation for that. They're eventually going to spread like a disease. In a business relationship, just like any personal relationship, to do what we do, to do what I do, you really have to be in love with it. You have to be in love with yourself. You have to be in love with the process. When you pick business partners too, just like picking someone you might be in love with, what is the balance? What is that person balance in you?
Yeah.
What are your experience? What are their experience? How can those experiences benefit each other? They say when a couple comes together, the sum of that couple should be greater than the whole. You should be with a girl or a significant other that's going to make you a better man, that's going to make you strive, that's going to make you go for the next level, that's going to make you learn something about yourself. Partners should bring that out in you also. Partners should complement you.
Yep.
The way that your love might complement you, find someone that makes that fire burn inside of you, but that also has the ability to extinguish those flames.
Right.
That's a fucking secret in a good partner in business, in life, whatsoever. So
love it. I think another one of the unique aspects that comes to mind right away when I think about what you guys have been able to do here is the multi-level experience. Something that's super hot, not only in Chicago, but in many markets, is the nightlife and food concept, the combo between the two. People want to go somewhere they're comfortable, somewhere they could have a great dinner, have a meal with their friends, but they don't have to leave afterwards as well. Talking to you about it, and I've had a lot of experience, obviously, with the lounge aspect of what you guys are doing. What are some of the pros and cons associated with having those two linked?
Pros and cons is, well, first off, the hours it puts on you, because it doesn't stop. I'm here. My staff will be here. I'm here prepping in the morning, just as I would a restaurant.
Yep.
And then I'm closing it down. We're flipping it for bottle service. We're having fun, and the staff is leaving at 3 a.m. So we're doing 2 different shifts in a day. That puts a lot of stress on your individual employees, puts a lot of stress on me or the owners, the operating team, puts a lot of stress on the venue as well. You have this beautiful dining room that has to open up to a 200-person party.
Yeah.
I'm sitting tables that are spending a lot of money for dinner at booths that have a heel hole in it from a girl's dancing on it, holding bottles of champagne at 3 a.m, just several hours before you ate dinner. Yeah. So it's a constant flip. But for me, like, my parents met at a dinner dance. You're Italian. I know you've been to a dinner dance as a kid. I used to, they put the chairs together and you lay down and sleep under the table as like an Italian kid, in an Italian neighborhood. So I was like, this is a modern day dinner dance, somewhere where you dress up, you go to, depending on what table you're sitting at in the dining room, someone walks in. My parents used to drag us around to every table and I say hi to this guy and say hi to that guy and say hi to this guy, right? So you come in and you kind of do your rounds and everyone knows everybody, kissing, shaking hands, everyone's loud, the music's vibrant, people are all up moving each other. It's a place to see and be seen. And you're having that vibrant dinner experience, and then your table's getting cleaned off. The music starts rising, and you start seeing more people come through the door, and Yeah, and it turns into a party. That is the human experience. That's what we all want to do, you know, that's what Italians do in Italy, man. Like we have fun. Like whether we're having a coffee, whether it's lunch, like Italians live life, man, you know, and what we do here is we live life. I have people all the time, you know, most of the time some older people or some more conservative people that are eating dinner and they're like, "Hey, can you turn the music down?" I'm like, "Fuck no. I'm not turning the music down. Go eat somewhere else."
Right.
You know, if you were in my house, you wouldn't be able to hear yourself think because everyone's yelling at each other. You know, like we're loud, we're vibrant. I like to experience that in my restaurant.
Yeah. Part of that experience is you guys don't bend that aspect of who you guys are. You're not trying to be anybody else.
I'm Gino. I'm a Chicago Italian. We're tough. We're straight to the point. We like to have fun. We're real ass people, and I show that in how I act in my restaurant every day, man.
100%. No, it definitely shows through. Part of the notoriety as well with yourself, more so as an individual now, and we'll get into some of the future endeavors in a second. But it's been the celeb status, if you will, that's come through here.
Yeah.
All the Instagram photos, private dinners, and stuff like that. Anybody from, for the viewers at home, if you haven't seen, Steph Curry, Kevin Hart, Meg Thee Stallion, political figures, Gavin Newsom, Caleb Williams, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
How does this, simply put, how does this stuff happen for the people that may not understand? I know there's a million different iterations and versions of how these things get set up, but how did that kind of first start popping off? Maybe if you could remember to the first and most recent.
Yeah, anything can happen once.
Yeah.
You know? You have to treat yourself, you have to treat your business almost like a magnet, right? You need to attract shit. And the first couple celebrities that came in over Lollapalooza weekend gave us kind of an air where we just started attracting things. And then our guests started realizing that this is where celebrities go. If I have a chance of seeing a celebrity, chances in Gino's dining room is better than a chance in another dining room.
Yeah.
You might have a celebrity that you know, everyone knows one here and there, that when they come into town, where do you have to take them? You have to take them to a place that other celebrities go.
Right.
So then it starts snowballing, and I put myself out there to attract these things. They know that they know they're going to get taken care of. They know that they're going to have a level of discretion, and they know that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to accommodate them as a true hospitality professional. And, you know, here we are hosting Kendrick Lamar's birthday party and once again, making gnocchi, and I'm rubbing shoulders with the most powerful people in the world.
Right.
You know, hopefully in a couple weeks, I'll be even, you know, the Crown Prince of United Arab Emirates will be trying my food soon. And, you know, that's
unreal.
That's crazy, right? And it all starts with just having a blind belief with yourself, man, doing what you do well. Don't focus on all the other bullshit that everyone's trying to say, and just keep grinding, man.
Do yourself. What are a couple wild requests that you've gotten though over the past couple of years from a celeb? I know there's got to be something, a funny story.
I mean, there's plenty of there's plenty of stories. I don't know how much I can get into depth as I'm talking about celebrity discretion. But we've done everything. I've shut the dining room down in the middle of dinner service, literally start clearing tables out and apologizing and giving gift cards on the way out. Come back, you know, be shaking people's hands, come back, double the value. Trust me, I got you. Shutting the drapes, ordering 10 hookahs, you know, filling the place, you know, for a private party, literally getting out of bed at 2 a.m, getting calls from, you know, from certain, you know, very, very important celebrities, and, you know, taking an Uber over here to open the kitchen and start cooking for them at 2 a.m. Yeah, really just gone above and beyond. But those are the touch points that are important in any business, not just restaurants. What makes you different? How do you compete? You know, those are important things. What do you do well? And you gotta pound on that shit, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's one of my questions that doesn't need to get answered, but how you guys separate yourselves from the competition. It's very evident, very apparent. Segues nicely into this next part here, but with all the success, notoriety, celeb status, you've obviously been presented with an array of different opportunities now to extend this footprint that you've been able to put out. Talk to us a little bit about your venture over in Dubai.
Yeah.
And how that experience has been thus far. 2024, you went global essentially. So
Yeah, kind of crazy to hear.
right.
Thank you. Yeah.
That phrase, right?
I got put in touch with some great people in Dubai. They haven't invested in food and beverage before. That whole market of the world loves Western culture, Western ideas. There's a lack for a more fast casual market out there. A lot of Dubai restaurants are very high ends, once again, smoke and mirrors, colorful lights, and, smoke coming out of, Poppy Steak's briefcase when they open it. And it's, like I said, that's good for them. They make their money. But they were looking for something more real. And they were looking for a Chicago chef. And there's very few chefs or Chicagoans that are more Chicago than me. And Chicago chef was important. So I found a way to, once again, going back to something I grew up. I haven't made deep dish pizzas in my professional career, but that was something I always did as a kid. It was always something I always made as a kid. So getting back to the basics was cool. But going out to Dubai has been just an amazing experience. Meeting the people, learning the culture, learning the new types of business opportunities that are out there has really opened up the world for me, quite literally and figuratively. But I put on for my city. The name of it is Mr. Chicago, baby.
Yeah.
I'm going out there representing beef sandwiches, deep dish pizzas, sausage and peps, meatball subs, Italian ice. And we got a line down the block. People can't wait to do the classic Chicago cheese pull. So for me, other than expanding my repertoire and my career, like I said, man, I'm putting on for my city. I'm putting Chicago on a Middle Eastern map, and people are loving it. So I couldn't be happier.
Literally. That's awesome. We talked about it off camera one time. What are you seeing as the key business differences? I know the culture's vastly different. The way they go about employment is a bit different. What were some of those shocking factors when you first got everything launched and kicked off?
Yeah, one of the most shocking factors in Dubai is just the extreme abundance of potential workforce. There's so many people looking to work out there.
Right.
They have so many different backgrounds, so many different countries. And a lot of those countries, the level of poverty is so much, the level of poverty, the level of political turmoil that some of those countries have been in. And the safety of Dubai has really been such a melting pot to get all these different countries to have new blood to be able to work. So labor is pretty cheap over there. It is kind of crazy how I have to pay for their visas. I support their entry into the country and their ability to stay in that country. You have to pay for their housing. We even pay for transportation to and from.
Wow.
What that does is it actually creates one of the best work staff I've ever had. They're always showing up to work on time. There's never any problems.
Yeah.
And they're very happy and they put pride into their work. And I don't know what their situations are back home, but I try to provide a little more westernized culture of appreciating those employees. I give them slightly longer lunch breaks than the guy next door to me might give them. I give them a day or two off a week more than the guy next door might give to them. And before our first week or two open, all of a sudden, everybody, all the food vendors on both sides of me were, their employees kind of start snooping around and looking around and stalking around the tent a little bit, asking for jobs at Mr. Chicago. My staff listens to music while they work. And it's pretty crazy too. I have some Jordanian immigrants. I have some Saudi immigrants. I have some Filipino immigrants that work for me, and English is their second, third, or fourth language. And to walk up to my booth to hear, a little Filipino lady or a Jordanian guy, who speaks broken English yelling, "Two plain beef juicy," you know what I mean? Or, beef, they've hot pep.
That's funny.
Like it's actually really, really cool. And being in Dubai, having guys walk up to me and, or ladies walking up to me wearing a hijab or a abaya, or the gentleman in the kandura that I don't know, I've never seen, and they're saying, "Hey, Mr. Chicago." And, and I look up and they're already getting in a picture going like this with me. I don't know, man. It means more than money. It's
So much
really
pride in
having
that.
an effect and a power to change what people see and what people think.
Right.
And it's really a kind of a cool thing, man. Like I'm
Special.
halfway across the world and people are asking me for pictures going like this before I even said anything or did anything. They know that Chef Gino. They know, hey, Mr. Chicago. Like, it's kind of cool.
They treat Americans different there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
They're, I don't know the right word, but
everybody loves American culture. Let's face
the
it.
treatment. Yeah,
for sure.
They all wish they were over here. So I'm sure there's a level of cool stigma that comes with working at Mr. Chicago.
Well, I mean, it's cool. It's cool enough to be an American and to understand Western or American pop culture. And let's face it, baby, it's even cooler to be from Chicago, and it's even cooler to be a Chicago Italian dog.
That's right, 100%. Talk to us a little bit about the area where you're located in Dubai, because I know it's like a centralized.
Yeah, our first location to prove the concept. We're in the largest attended tourist attraction in the world, I believe, which is called Global Village.
Wow.
And 40,000 people per day going into this place. But basically, you've DJ'd for me at Taste of Randolph. Taste of Randolph, is a fest that we do every year on Randolph Street here that we just kill it. Imagine a Taste of Randolph with built-in booths, with good weather all year, that's
20%.
open all year. And it's a perfect place to test the concept without, really going balls to the wall in an investment that you aren't sure of, retaining.
Yeah.
So we proved the concept. We're doing really well. We're looking to open a second location in an area called DIFC, which $800 trillion of the world's money goes through a 5-block radius. So,
holy shit.
Let me put up a beef stand there.
Yeah. What's more popular, pizza or the beef?
The pizza for sure.
Yeah.
Pizza for sure.
That's the beef.
It's a very Instagrammable city.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the Chicago cheese pull.
Iconic.
It's iconic. So
it's crazy. What speaking to the wealth of the area you're in, how has some of that experience, right? Because you were wine and dine a little bit. People saw it when you went out in Dubai and stuff like that. How did that shape your perspective? And coming back here, how did that change maybe the way you went about handling different business situations and such?
I would say generally, of course, the per capita millionaire is probably more prevalent in a place like Dubai. What I really have to give credit to the residents of the UAE and Emiratis in general, there isn't that posturing, that ego, that flashiness that some American businessmen have.
Right.
It's more of an unspoken confidence. Some of the wealthiest guys that you can meet are some of the most respectful, which is really, really eye-opening for me. Guys that you're trying to do business with, they aren't selling you snake oil. They're not embellishing upon something that isn't real. They're not pretending that they have more money than they have. In fact, they're pretending to have less money than they have. And people out there are very, very generous. So as long as you're willing to work, as long as there's a good idea, people believe in each other. There's not a constant dick measuring contest, because the guys the guys that do have money, they don't fucking need to, man. And that's the last thing you want to get into. The ones with money have money on a whole nother level that you think wealth is.
Yeah.
So it's really been eye opening, but it's been an amazing place to meet not only future business partners, but future friends and people that I expect to be involved in my life for many years to come.
Right. Definitely on a different level. And the guys with money like that, if they're going to back you, they're not doing it because they're looking for some sort of financial gain. They're
looking for the bigger picture.
Right.
They don't care about making money in a market. They care about changing markets.
Right.
And that's something I want to do.
That's awesome.
I haven't put 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears to make a couple dollars. I did this to change some fucking markets, man. And they want to change markets out there, and that's something I want to do. Let's put the pedal to the metal. I ain't stopping until you see a finish line or I see God, baby.
You're bringing that intensity back here now. So we know Dubai location number 2 is in the works. maybe location in Saudi Arabia
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Pop up. There's a equivalent global village that we're looking to
Oh, cool.
pop up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, hopefully. So
Huge.
yeah.
And now you're bringing some of that back here as well, right?
Yeah.
A couple new ventures going on in Chicago as well. Talk to us about that.
I won't talk too much about it, but
Tell us what you
but
can.
you know, you are the first person. So I don't know if I should congratulate or compliment. You are the first person to hear about the launch of my new Italian fast casual concept that's going to be open next door to Shake Shack over here on Morgan and Lake Street.
Nice.
The name of the business is called Pasta Via. Which would be pasta portare via, pasta that you could take to the street, pasta to go, fresh, vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, organic, no seed oils, under $15, under 5 minutes, getting chef's quality Italian food the way Italians are meant to eat it. And I think we're onto something. I got some really great partners behind me, strategic investors, PR investors, and I'm really looking forward to being able to say next year when we do another interview like this that I'm the fastest growing franchise in America.
That's awesome. Bookmark that. We're gonna.
You heard it here. Call me out. 364 days.
A year from now, we're gonna come back. We're gonna do it in the Pasta Via location. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely. We should.
So I'm super excited for that. This area, Chicago in general, is probably long overdue for that sort of concept. Is it something you've wanted to do, be a part of for a while now?
I've been planning it for, Billy and I, my partner, we were roommates at the time when we were planning it. And he's he's a Jewish kid from Maryland, and he's not really, he didn't grow up nearly how I grew up. And when we became roommates, it was kind of a culture shock for him. And then he, I bring him food home from the restaurant one day. Which was kind of a mistake because then I had to bring him 3 orders of pasta every single night. That's all he ate. But he was just obsessed with the pasta. And at that time he was working for Postmates. So he understood the growth of third-party delivery and what were franchises and those franchises' success and disadvantages of every company. So we came together and we had this idea of, maybe this is the culmination of everything I've been doing. My family's been making fresh pasta for 40 years. The amount of work that I'm putting in the restaurant floor, even though I love it, it isn't as scalable as quickly as I can do something like this.
Right.
And what my dad's goal was since I was a kid, what my goal has always been is to share my upbringing, my family's product, to share our food with American families, to share our experience with American families. And I think this is the fastest, most reasonable and effective way to bring American families together, one Italian plate at a time, man.
Yeah. Very well said. I know it's going to be a hit.
That's a reel.
Yeah. Bookmark that one too. That's, no, that's it right there. It's going to be a hit. We know that for a fact. Can't wait to try it. When we last
so I'm looking, I say spring 2025.
Okay.
So we're looking at about 30 to 60 days. You could, just so it doesn't affect audio, you could pick it up and hang it down. See, this is what you get with filming in a restaurant. We got a lot of moving parts, baby. A lot of moving parts. Take the reservation, book them.
Okay.
Spring 2025 is when we're looking to open. I will definitely be giving you an invite. I have a lot of, one thing I'm really proud about this project is I have a lot of young Italian Americans that are partners, investment partners in on this project. Who is the future of this city going to be? What is the future of our culture as Italian Americans going to look like? And this is something we can all get together and rise up together with.
Right.
And it's really important that you want to grow. You want to expand. I'm investing my greatest years and my lifeblood into something. I want the right people sitting at the table. And I'm really proud of what we put together with Pasta Via. And I can't wait to have you at the opening. Can't wait to have you at the opening.
I'm excited for it. That sounds awesome. One of the last things before we wrap up, I always have to ask this, and with what we do at Link Creative and such, I'm sure it's been extremely instrumental to what you've been able to achieve and everything that we talked about over this conversation. But how has social content, this new age digital world, impacted how you operate impacted the success you guys have had?
I think for me, it's all come down to social,
Yeah.
you know, being in a position like I am, a lot of people assume and think certain things about a restaurant owner, or like, I have meetings sometimes where they expect that they're going to meet with Gino, the chef and owner, and they expect some, mid 50-year-old guy that's kind of overweight with gold chains and gel in his hair and parsley coming out of his unbuttoned shirt. You know what I mean? And then they realize that, when they see me, that it's different than what they expected. Social media is a way, and I found some of the best videos and some of the biggest content reaction that I've gotten is when I'm real with people. When people see the come up, people are part of your story now. And I think social media, that's very important. People want to be invested into knowing it's not just a commercial. Hey, come in 2 for 1, buy this. Instead saying, hey, like, I'd really like your business. This is why. And I think that's so much more effective.
Yeah.
And other than the celebrity pictures and all the attention that stuff gets, I think a lot of my followers or the restaurant followers see the real side of what it takes to be a restaurateur, to see the amount of work that's put in. And hopefully they see the real person that I am. And that's somebody that people hopefully want to support.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that's evident for sure. People know you're here.
Yeah.
You're here morning,
sure.
afternoon, night. People are going to see you if they dine here. You're not hiding behind anything, and that comes through, that portrays through social.
Yeah, and being a young entrepreneur at the time, you might not have a marketing budget. You might not be able to afford that. So the fact that social media gives you a platform that doesn't cost money.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always decide to spend money on the parts of it that's working, but it doesn't cost money. And to give anybody a platform to succeed for free is a beautiful thing if you use it well. So,
right. Very well said. Before we go, what advice would you give, maybe 25-year-old Gino, someone just starting out? What's that one thing that comes to mind?
I would say to kind of trust yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. A lot of pressure comes from the people around you. People judging, people telling you what about your dream is not going to work. The same people that are like, yeah, go after your dreams are the same people that are going to remind you how you're not doing it, what you shouldn't do,
Right.
how you should feel about it. And I put so much unneeded pressure on myself to be a success, when if you truly, truly believe in what you're doing, if you trust in the process, it will happen. It might not happen the way you expect it to happen, but it'll happen. If you keep persisting, if you keep putting in that effort, be the man you are, truly, hopefully, and then become the man you're meant to be. And you just have to trust you're going to become that man you're meant to be.
Love it. Well, you guys heard it here first. Gino, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Of course, this was amazing. Link Live, we're out. That's a wrap.